Okay, I'm just going to talk a little bit about how color affects shadow and reflections. The reason I'm going to talk to you about this, and we'll review it again and again, but I want you guys to really get the idea that the object that you're painting is not the color you're painting. So that if you have, for example, a yellow object, that does not mean the whole thing is yellow. You're not painting everything yellow on the object because there's a lot of things going on. There's the light hitting the object that could be changing the color of the object, and there's other objects around it that are reflected onto it. Okay, so if we look here, this is a white ball. So we did this when we painted a white ball when we did black and white, and if you remember, there was a light hitting right there, hitting the ball, shadow, core shadow, and then there was reflected light from the ground up onto the ball. With color, we also have reflected light, but that reflected light is not white light or yellow light usually, but rather it is reflecting color. So if we look at this one here, we also have a white ball. There's light hitting it. It looks like a pretty yellow light. And then there's red paper next to the ball, and that red paper is being reflected onto the ball. Now, if you were painting this ball, you wouldn't paint just white and black or in grays. You would paint the white and some of the yellow into the white because the light is warm, and also some red into that ball. If you look at this one, now we have lots of reflected colors. We have green reflecting onto the ball. We have red and some purple violet down here. Or maybe that's dark blue, but it's all being reflected onto this image or onto the ball. And now all of a sudden this white ball, you're not even barely painting any white at all. Here is an example of the egg, the blue reflecting onto there, and the red reflecting onto there. You can see that in this painting, there's that yellow ball back there. There's a lot of green from the fabric reflecting onto the yellow ball. The red square is reflecting onto it, so there's red. Same with the white ball. There's some yellow reflecting, there's some red reflecting, and there's green, and there's some cooler shadows, blue shadows. Okay, so here we can just look at that some more. So we have, you can see this yellow cube. You can see it has tainted this ball right here a little bit yellow. Here we have a blue light, so the ball is white, but the light is blue, and this is a green cube reflecting onto that. That transforms it. Now we have a very yellow light and a yellow cube, so this ball has become very yellow. And then in these ones, here's a desk lamp, a regular lamp. You can see the shadows. Like, look at this shadow. It's a gray shadow, but if you painted that gray, it wouldn't really work. Because if you look closely, there's a little bit of yellow in that shadow. Same for here. So this is a little bit more blue of a shadow. This is more bit of a red shadow. So when we're painting color, we really don't want to just paint like gray shadows, and we don't want to paint the object just the color of the object, but rather look at all the light that is reflecting onto it. One thing that is really good to remember is that the light and the shadows will be opposite. So if you have a warm light, like in this image, you have a yellow light hitting the ballet shoes. So it's a very yellow light. So when the white areas aren't pure white because the light is a little bit yellow, so you would add a little bit of yellow into that white, and that shows like a very warm light hitting it. When that happens, your shadows are going to be blue, or maybe not blue, but cool. So in this case, there's some purple and some blues in the shadows. It's not natural for us to make the shadows blue, but if your light is warm, then you will have blue. And most regular desk lamps are are yellow lights, but sometimes we buy blue light. So you have to kind of look at the light you're using that you use to project onto your image and think, is it this light more yellow or is this light more blue? If the light is more blue, oh, here we go. So this is another example. Warm sunlight hitting the body, and now we have cool shadows, so more blue in it. If you have cool light, so if the light bulb that you have is a blue light, which you can buy light that's a little bit more blue. Light bulbs are a little more blue. And that's hitting, so you can see how there's little bits of blue in the light reflecting on her face. The shadow is going to be a warm shadow, more oranges and reds and yellows. And maybe some like reddish, like a red violet. So really pay attention to the light. We're going to talk about this more when we get started painting, but I wanted you guys to start thinking more complex about color, and that's why I put together the assignment, but also just these different links that helps you think about color more than just this object's red, this object's blue, this object's green. Rather, the light and the objects around are interacting with each other to make, and when you do that, the colors will change than what you think are there. You really need to pay attention to the reflections and the light. All right? Talk to you guys later.